This is another Operation Protect the White Boy, where today the person we will be discussing is Robert Shiflet. Now, let me just give you a trigger warning right now. I'm going to play this audio for you. And the audio is about 10 and a half minutes long. It's one of the longest audios that I just let play out on my channel, because usually I don't like to play audios that long. But because this story is pretty much going to tell itself via reporters, I want you to hear from them what this story is actually about. But like I said, it's a trigger warning, because what you're about to hear is going to make you feel very, very uncomfortable.
Right now, serving a sentence for sexually assaulting 2 girls on church youth trips. Now, one of his many victims is sharing her story publicly for the first time with Fox 4 News. And Lori Brown is in studio tonight with more. Lori.
Stephen, Heather, the victim says she wants to shine a light on what happened to the 14 girls because Denton Bible Church kept it in the dark for too long. We are not showing her face and have altered her voice to protect her identity.
A youth group became a feeding ground for a deviant, and we didn't know it. That was thought to be a trusted staff person.
He was very manipulative. He was really good at playing on the emotions of teenage girls. I felt special, and that's what he was preying on.
Denton Bible Church pastor Tommy Nelson, who is also a best-selling author of Christian books, told his congregation on May 1st that he was not only deceived, but used by the church's now former junior high youth director, Rob Shiflet.
Our church helped send to Dallas Seminary.
The same day as this addressed the congregation, the church made available by request a 5-page letter summarizing a 10-month-long investigation conducted by a third-party attorney.
We paid these guys to make sure that there was not any cover-up in our church.
Scott Fredericks, that attorney and third-party investigator, is not releasing the lengthy report, citing privacy concerns for the victims. But one of those victims did want to share her story with Fox 4 News.
It was a stack, like 2 dictionaries full of papers.
For public release, the private investigation was summarized in a 5-page update. It found many failures on the part of Denton Bible Church. But one victim who spoke with us says Pastor Nelson's address to the congregation did not acknowledge what church leaders knew and when they knew it. Does it feel like they were more focused on keeping this in the dark or protecting themselves than helping to prevent it from happening to someone else?
You know what frustrates me the most about this story is the number of times I've been told we didn't know what to do. I don't really have words for that. I don't think you need a seminary degree to know what to do. You need to do the right thing. You need to take care of the victims, and you need to report to the police and CPS.
So all of this happened in the late 90s. It came to our attention in 2005. We didn't know it.
How old were you when you first met Rob?
13. He slowly treated me more like a girlfriend, and so as a young teenager, I knew something didn't feel right. I knew that I felt uncomfortable, and when he would do different things and touch me in ways that were inappropriate, he would ask me if it was okay, and if I said yes, he would keep doing it, and if I said no, he would ice me out emotionally.
According to federal prosecutors, one of the crimes the youth leader pleaded guilty to happened with a girl who was 14 at the time he met her at Denton Bible Church. In 1997, when the victim was 15 years old, Shiflet led an 8th grade camping trip to the Buffalo National River in Arkansas. He isolated her from the group, sexually assaulted her, and told her not to tell anyone. According to the church's May 1st letter, Pastor Tommy Nelson's first clues about Shiflet came before Shiflet left Denton Bible Church to go work for another church. Youth workers reported seeing Shiflet spending time alone with girls in his car, home, and a hotel room. The letter says 2 youth workers raised concerns directly to Pastor Nelson. Pastor Nelson told Shiflet's supervisor that he should not spend time alone with girls, but no one disciplined Shiflet. Another warning came in 1999. The church's letter says a college intern reported her discomfort and red flags to the wife of a youth pastor. Again, leaders did not discipline Shiflet. The college intern concluded she had not been believed. In 2001, the letter says Denton Bible turned down Shiflet's request to be promoted to the high school pastor position because of his pattern of being alone with girls. But Pastor Nelson did not share that information with a church in Little Rock, Arkansas. a church where Shiflet applied for a job as youth pastor. In fact, Pastor Nelson recommended him. The church's letter states there was no evidence that any information about Shiflet's tenure at Denton Bible or reasons he did not get the high school position was sought by or shared with anyone at Fellowship Bible. But that statement conflicts with this.
One whom I endorsed with what I thought to be true to a Bible church in Arkansas to be the head of their youth program. No one had a clue.
As youth director at Fellowship Bible Church in Little Rock, the investigation found Shiflet abused 3 more girls. One sexual assault happened with a 16-year-old during a youth group trip in Panama City, Florida. The letter says the Arkansas church fired Shiflet in 2003. He moved back to live in Denton and continued the abuse of at least 1 girl. In 2005, 2 victims bravely came forward and told a counselor at Denton Bible about their abuse while minors by Shiflet. But instead of Denton Bible reporting this to authorities, church leaders confronted Shiflet themselves, and he admitted to the crimes. Both girls were 19 years old in 2005, so the law at that time did not require church leaders to report the abuse. But the victim we spoke with believes leaders in the church had a moral obligation to report it, to protect others.
We were 19 when we reported, and to navigate that on your own and to basically be abandoned by the church to do that is devastating.
The church's letter says the Denton Bible Church Elder Board voted to revoke Shiflet's ordination in 2005. And for years after that, Denton Bible alerted other organizations about Shiflet, including a school. Shiflet worked at Liberty Christian School from 2008 to 2010. Yet in his statement to his own congregation, Pastor Nelson claimed to have not known about Shiflet's crimes until a father of another victim came to him in 2015.
I was at the first unveiling of a father saying, I want to talk to him in your presence. I'm going to tell him what I think. I said, what about? And we did. And I said, you're kidding. There was physical contact? Yes. And that was the first time. And then another, then another, and then another. And between us and Arkansas, there were 14 girls.
By 2015, the law did require a person or professional, including clergy, to report it to law enforcement if there was cause to believe an adult suffered sexual abuse as a child. But Denton Bible's pastor, Tommy Nelson, still failed to do so.
Tommy portrayed there was no cover-up. And I remember thinking, if there's no cover-up, what'd you do in 1999? If there's no cover-up, what did you do in 2005? What did you do in 2015?
What there was a lack of, well, times changed on us and we didn't change. Because this was something, a pedophile was a term I never heard from 1974 until 2005.
The failures Nelson did admit to.
We saw smoke of inappropriate behavior. We did not look for the fire, and we should have. We would now.
But experts say it's actually not the church's role to do their own investigation.
And we need to remember that abuse thrives in silence, right?
Lana Ahrens is with the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center. She says anyone with a suspicion abuse has happened needs to report it to authorities.
Yes, you do not have to have proof. You do not have to have evidence. Actually, some of those things can, if you try to collect those things, that can actually hinder a criminal investigation.
Shiflet's crimes finally came to light in 2019 when the 2 victims who reported their abuse originally to Denton Bible back in 2005 realized they needed to tell law enforcement.
I feel like a light bulb came on for me that Rob was still living in North Texas and wasn't in prison.
The FBI began investigating in June last year, and a federal judge sentenced Shiflet to 33 months in prison.
I want it to be a warning to the global church that you cannot silence the voice of sex abuse victims in the church and expect to get away with it.
We asked Pastor Nelson for an interview 3 times. Our requests were declined.
And so even though I didn't do it, Curtis didn't do it, we were the guys in charge. It was on our watch.
While her abuse occurred in the church,
The role of a pastor is to care for the flock of God.
the victim we spoke with says it is her faith that has allowed her to heal.
I also believe that Jesus dearly cares about abuse. He cares about my story. He cares about all of the victims who've been hurt in the story, those that are known and unknown. And I'm proud of myself, but I also am so thankful to Jesus for his resurrection power that helped me come forward and do the right thing.
At Shiflet's sentencing, the federal judge lamented the plea deal agreed to by both parties was too short of a sentence. The judge said, "I would have sent you away for 25 years. I think you are a danger to society." Shiflet is set to be released from prison in April next year. He will be required to register as a sex offender, and he was also sentenced to a lifetime of supervised release. Texas law requires anyone who has cause to believe a child has been abused or neglected to report it to the Department of Family Protective Services or law enforcement where the abuse occurred. Again, you don't need any proof to make a report. We've put a link to resources as well as Pastor Nelson's full statement to the congregation on our website. Steve.
Okay, so y'all just heard that entire audio right there. Like I said, it was going to be pretty lengthy, but I wanted you to hear excuse me, I wanted y'all to hear exactly what that was. Now, what this audio left out is that they said he was set for release in April of next year. Well, plot twist, and y'all can probably see it on the thumbnail. This man got early release back in January. According to the article, it says Robert Shiflet was released from prison on January 11, 2023 after serving 25 months behind bars for repeatedly sexually assaulting 2 girls. Now, mind you, his sentence was 33 months. It should have been way more than that. He only did 25 months for quote unquote good behavior. Mind you, this man has been terrorizing little girls since the 90s. Since the 90s, since like the mid 90s, all the way up into like the mid early 2000s and maybe a little bit beyond that we know of. This man literally is the epitome of Operation Protect the White Boy, because he was getting protection and cover while he was doing what he was doing. And I liked how they incorporated clips of the pastor talking. Like if you heard another man's voice in there, that was the pastor talking, literally contradicting everything that he was saying. How in the world did you not know what this man was doing, like right underneath your nose? How did you not know that was going on? I refuse to believe when it comes to stories such as these, that deals with these subject matters, that the people do not know what's going on. It's no way that you could tell me with a straight face that you did not know that this guy who worked with you in your church, that you did not know he was doing what he was doing for all these years and to all these girls. They said this man sexually assaulted, molested, violated, however you want to put it, 14 girls from 1997 to 2005. How did you not know? They knew. In my honest opinion, they knew, or at the very least had suspicions of what this man was doing or what he was involved with. I do not believe that they were completely blindsided by any of this. And in my honest opinion, they should also look into this pastor as well, because he, in my opinion, is not innocent. Just like this dude is far from innocent. Released on good behavior. This man got less time behind bars than a lot of black men who go to jail for a crime they didn't commit. I think in this last week alone, I may have heard about 3 different stories about 3 different black men who have done at least well over 10 years in prison for a crime they didn't commit. The most recent one was someone who went to jail when they turned 16 and didn't get out until they were 35. They lost the rest of their teen years, all of their 20s and half their 30s behind some shit they didn't even do. There was another guy who got sentenced to like a whole bunch of years and spent like 34 years in prison since the 80s for a crime he did not commit. And then there was another one. I can't remember that other story, but it was another one he did a lot of time behind bars too for a crime he didn't commit. Yet this piece of shit on your screen violated 14 girls over the span of almost 10 years. Got away with it and only did 25 months and got out for good behavior. And you got these individuals out here saying that white privilege isn't a thing, or that there's a so-called war on white people. I want to see what Charlie Kirk, what's his name, Mark Dice, or that other one I talked about recently in one of my shorts video, that, what's his name, Peter Skews, or whatever his name is. I want to see them address something like this, but they're not going to. You got all these damn sexual deviants running around here, getting slaps on the wrist, both the men and the women. I can't tell you how many ones about the women I did in the last week or so. Not getting the proper labels and doing minimal time. Good behavior, F that. He should have did all of his time. And he still got a slap on the wrist because 33 months for what he did is dust compared to what he should have received. This man should not have received less than a decade behind bars for the crimes in which he committed. But here we are. This is America. He has the complexion for the protection for the collection. That is one of the most greatest quotes that has ever been concocted because it's so true. I don't know what I'm glad that the woman, that the one of his victims came forward and actually, spoke out about this, because it unveiled so much more. It's so many layers than just this guy violating 14 girls. It uncovered a lot of other things as well. That's why I said the pastor, in my opinion, is not as innocent as he's trying to make himself out to be, pretending he didn't know what the hell was going on. You knew what was happening. You know exactly what was going on. Like I said, at the very least, you had suspicions, but you didn't say anything. And they let this guy maneuver around in the church. And then when he left one church, he went to another church and did the same exact thing. You know how they say they don't get fired, they get transferred? He literally got transferred from one church to another to do the same shit he was doing at the previous church that he was working at. Had it been left up to him and he didn't get caught, he would go on to another church and then another and then another, because he has to feed that lustful desire that he has to be a goddamn pervert. I already told you what punishment I have when it comes to these type of individuals. If it's a man that did it, if it's a woman, she gets a punishment too, in my honest opinion. But let's just put it this way. Let me paint a picture for you of how the punishment would be if y'all didn't hear it already. Y'all heard of the guillotine, right? What is the guillotine used for? To cut people's heads off, right? I would use the guillotine, but it wouldn't be to get rid of the head that sits on the shoulders. I'll let y'all hang on to that one.